Did you know that the last day of school, often filled with joy and anticipation, can also be the setting for some of the most chilling and disturbing real-life events? Imagine the last day of school, a day filled with joy, relief, and anticipation for the summer ahead. But for one student, it turned into a nightmare. Our tale begins on a day that most students eagerly await, the final day of the school year. The air buzzes with electricity, the classrooms echo with laughter, and dreams of summer adventures fill the hallways. But for one student, this day would not end in celebration or freedom. It would culminate in a disappearance so sudden and baffling, it would shock an entire town. The student, a well-liked and diligent individual, arrived at school that morning as cheerful as anyone else. Friends recall plans for beach trips, summer jobs, and lazy days spent in the sun. Yet as the hours ticked by, the students' presence faded until they were no longer there. The laughter turned to whispers, the joy to confusion, the anticipation to fear. With the final school bell, a sense of unease swept through the school. The student was nowhere to be found. Their locker stood untouched, their car parked in the same spot. The school, once a place of learning and laughter, had become the backdrop for a chilling mystery. As word of the disappearance spread, the town was gripped by a frosty fear. Parents clung to their children a little tighter. Friends replayed conversations in their heads, searching for clues. The local police force, usually dealing with minor disturbances, found themselves in the midst of a missing persons case that would haunt them for years to come. And as the day turned into night, there was no sign of the missing student. The joy of summer had turned into a chilling mystery that would cast a long, dark shadow over the town. The echoes of laughter were replaced by the silence of unanswered questions, and the anticipation of summer turned into a dread that would linger long after the school bells had stopped ringing. As the day turned into night, there was no sign of the missing student. The joy of summer had turned into a chilling mystery. Exams can be nerve-wracking, but what if the exam you're taking suddenly turns into a horrifying ordeal? Imagine this. It's the last day of school and you're sitting in a classroom hunched over your final exam. The room is filled with the sound of pencils scratching against paper and the occasional cough. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream pierces through the silence, echoing down the hallway. Your heart skips a beat. Your hand freezes mid-answer. The teacher leaps up, rushing to the door to secure it. An announcement blares over the intercom. A lockdown is in effect. The classroom, once a haven for learning, now feels like a claustrophobic trap. You're caught in a web of fear and confusion, the gravity of the situation sinking its claws in. Whispers pass through the room like a chilling breeze, each student speculating about the source of the scream. Was it a prank or something far more sinister? The once mundane environment of the school is now tainted with an air of dread and uncertainty. The lockdown lasts for what feels like an eternity. The silence is deafening, the tension palpable. Every creak, every distant sound sends shivers down your spine. The hands of the clock crawl as you wait, your mind racing with horrifying possibilities. Finally, the lockdown is lifted. As you exit the classroom, you're greeted by a sight that makes your blood run cold. The once familiar hallway now hosts a scene straight out of a nightmare. The walls, usually adorned with colorful posters, are smeared with ominous symbols, the floor littered with strange objects. The final exam had turned into a test of survival, a chilling memory that would last forever. The school, once a place of learning and growth, had been transformed into a playground for an unimaginable terror. The echoes of the scream still ring in your ears, a haunting reminder of a day that was supposed to be a celebration of your academic achievements, but instead, it became a day that would forever be etched in your mind as a horrifying ordeal. A day when the final exam wasn't about algebra or history, it was about survival and courage. A day you'd never forget. The final exam had turned into a test of survival, a chilling memory that would last forever. Graduation parties are supposed to be a celebration of achievements, but one such party turned into a night of terror. Picture this. A sea of jubilant young faces, the air filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. This was a night for the students to let their hair down, to bask in the glow of their accomplishments. The school hall, adorned with streamers and balloons, echoed with the pulsating beats of the latest chart toppers. As the clock struck midnight, their youthful faces were bathed in the warm light of 100 fairy lights. But then, the unexpected happened. A sudden power outage plunged the hall into an abyss of darkness. The music screeched to a halt, and the cheerful chatter gave way to an eerie silence. The inky blackness seemed to blanket everything, creating a chilling sense of unease. A collective gasp echoed through the hall, followed by whispers of concern, then a rising tide of panic. The partygoers fumbled around, their attempts to switch on their phone torches only adding to the chaos. The darkness seemed to be playing tricks on their minds, morphing shadows into sinister figures. Every rustle, every footstep, every whisper sent hearts racing and minds spiraling into a pit of fear. Then, as abruptly as it had gone, the power returned. The sudden brightness was momentarily blinding, but as eyes adjusted, a gasp of horror rippled through the crowd. In the middle of the room lay a cap and gown, but the graduate it belonged to was nowhere to be found. The hall erupted into chaos, cries of fear mixed with the frantic calls for the missing student. As the reality of the situation sunk in, the joyous atmosphere was replaced by a chilling silence. The once vibrant hall seemed like a haunted house, the streamers like specters in the wind, the balloons casting long, ominous shadows on the walls. The laughter and cheers that had filled the air mere moments ago seemed like distant echoes from another lifetime. The joy of graduation had turned into a horrifying ordeal, a nightmarish end to their school journey. The aftermath of these horrifying incidents left a chilling impact on the survivors. In the wake of these gruesome events, an eerie silence hung over the town, a stark contrast to the usual jubilant celebrations marking the end of the school year. The local police, aided by state investigators, launched an extensive investigation. Every stone was turned, every lead was pursued. But the answers they sought remained elusive, the culprits a mystery. The school, once a hub of laughter and learning, turned into an epicenter of fear and uncertainty. The townsfolk were gripped by an unshakable sense of dread. Parents held their children a little tighter. Friends stopped parting ways with casual goodbyes, instead uttering heartfelt words of care, not knowing if they'd see each other again. The usual excitement of summer vacations was replaced by a chilling fear of the unknown. For the survivors, the aftermath was even more harrowing. The trauma of their experiences left deep scars. Therapy sessions became a routine part of their lives, an attempt to make sense of the horror they'd endured. Their dreams of a future filled with hope and promise were clouded by the nightmares of their past. The last day of school, a day that was supposed to be filled with tearful goodbyes and promises to stay in touch, had turned into a day of horror, forever etched in their memories. The classrooms that once echoed with the sound of their laughter were now silent, filled only with the echoes of their screams. Yet, amidst the fear and the trauma, a sense of resilience began to emerge. The survivors, bound by their shared experience, found strength in each other. They vowed to not let the horror of their past define their future. Slowly they began to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. The end of school was supposed to mark the beginning of a new chapter, a step towards the future. But for these students, their last day of school wasn't a beginning. It was a chilling end, an end that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. An end that would forever be a part of their story, a grim reminder of the horrifying truth that sometimes real life can be scarier than any ghost story. The end of school was supposed to be a beginning, but for these students it was a chilling end. These real-life horrors serve as a grim reminder that life can take a terrifying turn at any moment. The tales we've traversed today are not merely stories spun from the webs of imagination, but rather they're true accounts that have left their chilling mark on the annals of time. The eerie disappearance, the spine-chilling final exam, and the haunting graduation party each hold their own unique brand of horror. They all echo a common truth that fear can strike when we least expect it, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, the mundane into the monstrous. In the case of the unexplained disappearance, we learned that sometimes the most horrifying tales are the ones that lack closure. The absence of answers, the vacuum of knowing, can often be a more potent source of fear than any ghost or ghoul. It is the unknown that haunts us long after the tale ends. The final exam, a situation typically associated with academic stress, took an unexpected and dark detour. It's a stark reminder that dread can infiltrate even the most routine of circumstances, turning a simple test into a testament of terror. Lastly, the graduation party, a symbol of accomplishment and joy, was transformed into a macabre spectacle. It's an unsettling example of how horror can shatter the veneer of celebration, revealing the sinister that might lurk beneath. These accounts underscore the unpredictable nature of life. They remind us that horror doesn't limit itself to the confines of dark corners or shadowy nights. It can emerge in broad daylight, in the midst of laughter, in the heart of what we consider safe and familiar. These stories bring forth the chilling reality that horror can strike at any moment, transforming the commonplace into a scene of fear and dread. They invite us to contemplate the delicate balance between the ordinary and the ominous, the routine and the horrifying. Have you ever experienced something terrifying on the last day of school? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more spine-chilling content. As we bid you goodnight, remember the shadows of horror can lurk even in the brightest of days.